Good day, everyone. I'm Janeline D. Iscasinas. So, before we start our lesson, let's play a short game called This or That. So, I will ask questions, or I have here questions, and you will choose between two answers. First question: which is more fun in class, group work or individual work? Second question: which helps you learn better, teacher's explanation or class discussion? Third question: which is more relaxing, reading or drawing? And last question: which is better for learning, projects or quizzes? Alright, so thank you for participating, everyone. So, this activity shows us that in learning, students have different preferences and styles. Like some is better learn better in groups, while others learn better alone. Some like understands more when teacher explain, while others learn through discussions. This idea connects to our lesson today, which is all about designing the curriculum, because curriculum is about planning lessons and activities in a way that fits the learner. Module 3: The Teacher as a Curriculum Designer. So, a curriculum is kanang a planned sequence of learning. So, it is more than just a list of subjects. It is the total experiences of students. So, kita as a future teacher, one of our important rules is to design the curriculum. So, this means we plan what the students should learn, the activities they will do, and how we will check their learning. So, in other words, curriculum design is the teacher's guide to help students learn better. So now, let's start to tackle the lesson 1, which is the fundamentals of curriculum design. So, what are the desired learning outcomes of this lesson? So, first, identify the fundamentals of curriculum designing. And the second one is to appreciate the task of designing a building on Peter Oliva's 10 axioms for curriculum designers. So, as we begin to discuss about curriculum designing, all teachers need to know the different axioms or theorems curriculum as presented by Gordon W., Taylor R., and Oliva P. in 2019. So, these axioms will be used to guide curriculists in designing a curriculum. So, axioms are principles that practitioners as curriculum designers can use as guidelines or frame of reference. Experts like Peter Oliva gave 10 principles of curriculum design. So let us discuss them one by one. First, curriculum change is inevitable, necessary, and desirable. So, kabalo man ta like society, technology, and knowledge are always changing. So, because of this, dapat ang curriculum studies mag-change. So, if we do not update the curriculum, students will not be prepared for the present and future needs of the world. Second is curriculum is a product of its time. So the curriculum must reflect the present time. Like kanang for example, if sa una there were no computer lessons in school, dapat karon is importante na siya or dapat naa na siya because kabalo man ta nga like technology is really part or a big part of our daily life. Third is curriculum changes made earlier can exist concurrently with newer curriculum changes. So kanang changes in the curriculum do not happen at all once. So sometimes the old curriculum is still used while the new one is slowly introduced. So this helps kanang mga teachers and also students to adjust the changes. Fourth is that curriculum change depends on people who will implement that change. So, if the teachers are the one who apply the curriculum in class, That's why they must also be involved in designing and improving the curriculum because without the teacher's effort, curriculum change will not be effective. The fifth one is that curriculum development is a cooperative group activity. So, in designing the curriculum is not the work of one person only. So, teachers, principals, parents, and even kita nga student should be consulted because if everyone is part of the decision, they feel ownership of the curriculum. The sixth one is the curriculum is a decision-making process made from choices of alternatives. So, in designing a curriculum, teachers must decide what lesson to teach, what teaching method to use, and how to teach learning. So, these choices are very important because they affect how students learn. Seventh one is curriculum development is an ongoing process. So, when we say ongoing process, it is continuous or it never stops. So, as new knowledge and new needs appear, the curriculum must also improve. So, this ensures that students are always learning what is useful and updated. The eighth one is curriculum development is more effective if it is a comprehensive process rather than piecemeal. So, dapat ang curriculum is complete. So, it should not be a half done. So, because a complete curriculum has clear goals, enough resources, proper methods, and enough time for teaching. So, this help both teachers and students succeed. Number nine is curriculum development is more effective when it follows systematic process. So the curriculum is should follow clear step like first set the learning goals, then next choose the content and then select the teaching methods and finally prepare the assessment. So a systematic process avoids confusion. And the last one is the curriculum development starts from where the curriculum is, meaning we do not throw away the current curriculum completely because we begin with what already there and make it better. So this also saves time and effort because we build on what already building upon the ideas of Oliva. Let us continue learning how to design a curriculum by identifying its components. So, for most curricula, the major components or elements are answers to the following questions. First is what learning outcomes need to be achieved. So, it is the intended learning outcomes. Second is what content should be included to achieve the learning outcome. So that is the subject matter. Third is what learning experiences and resources should be employed. So that is the teaching learning methods. And the last one is how will the achieved learning outcomes be measured. So that is the assessment of achieved learning outcomes. So for example, is like a lesson plan is mura na siyang small curriculum because it contains objective, content, method, and assessment. What are the elements or components of a curriculum design? So, there are many labels or names for curriculum design. Some would call it as a syllabus or a lesson plan. Some would call it a unit plan or a course design. Whatever is the name of the design, the common components for all of them are almost the same. So let us take the lesson plan as a minuscule curriculum. So a lesson plan or teaching guide includes first intended learning outcomes or the desired learning outcomes. Second, the subject matter or content. Third is the teaching and learning method. And the last one is the assessment evaluation. So let's talk about first the behavioral objectives or intended learning outcomes. So, learning outcomes are the goals of a lesson. So, ang kaning learning outcomes, mao ni ang goals sa lesson because they tell us what the student should be able to do at the end of the lesson. So, ang kaning learning outcomes should be also or must be SMART, meaning it should be specific, measurable, attainable, result oriented, and time bound. Learning outcomes can be first cognitive, which is all about knowledge like facts and concepts. Second, psychomotor, which is all about skills like solving problems or performance tasks. Third is affective, like attitudes and values. So, example of outcomes is like the objective is at the end of the lesson, students can identify the parts of the flower. So that objective shows a clear goal that can be measured. This is the topic that will be taught. So when we see content or subject matter, mao ni ang topic nga itudlo sa mga teachers. So it must be related to the learning outcomes suitable for the student's level and, and updated with new knowledge. So, if ang content is too easy, syempre ang students will get bored. But if the ang content is also like too hard, syempre ang mga students food is kanang ma. The third one is the references. So, when we say references, it follows the content. So it tells where the content or subject matter has been taken. So references shows where the lesson content came from. So it can be maybe from books, modules, or other kind of mga published materials. So it is very important to include the author and year so the sources is clear. So, mo nang nga example below sa references. Number 4 is teaching and learning methods. So, these are the activities where the learners derive experiences. So, it is always good to kanang keep in our mind the teaching strategies that students will experience. Like, for example, kanang mga lectures, laboratory classes, fieldworks, and others. So, these are the strategies teachers can use to help students learn. First is cooperative learning, which allows students to work together. Like students are guided to learn on their own to find solutions to their problems. So, when we say cooperative learning activities, it lets students work together in a group. Next is the independent learning activities. So, it allows learners to develop personal responsibility. So, when we say independent learning, it lets students learn on their own, which build responsibility. So, and the third one is the competitive activities, where students will test their competencies against another in healthy manner. So, when we say competitive activities or or learning, it gives a kanang healthy contest with other students or with other learners to push students do their best. And the last one is the use of various delivery modes to provide learning experiences is recommended like kana mga online learning or kana mga modules. These are the some behaviorist teaching learning methods. So let's discuss them one by one or know them deeper. So first, or letter A, is the direct instruction, which the teachers explains step by step. So it is by Bara Cruisenshine model in Orstein and Hanskin 2018. So number 1 is state learning objectives or outcomes. So It begins the lesson with a short statement of what students are expected to learn. So, number two is the review. So, it gives ka ng mga quick review or the teacher gives a quick review of mga previous lessons or prerequisite knowledge to connect old and new learning. The third one is present new material. So the report is like this: teachers will introduce new content in a small, organized step that are easy to follow. The fourth one is explain. So here is like ang teacher is like mag-provide of clear and detailed explanations or kanang instructions so that students can understand well. Next is practice. So it allows students to actively practice the new skills or concept to reinforce learning. Number six is guide. So it supports kanang students during kanang mga initial practice or kanang mag-provide og seatwork activities to help students apply learning. Number seven is check for understanding. Like, diri po is like the teachers will ask questions or ikanang i-assess ang kanang comprehension sa mga students to see if they grasp the lessons or they understand the lessons. Number eight is provide feedback. So, diri po is like the teachers will give systematic feedback and also kanang mga corrections to improve the performance of the students. Next is assess performance. So, here is like the teachers will kanang mag-aim o kanang at least like 80% student success rate during sa kanang mga practice sessions. The last one is review and test. So, here is like the teachers will provide kanang mga review and kanang mga testing or like quiz to strengthen retention or kanang to see if kanang na-master ba jud sa students ang kanang mga lessons or mga gipang discuss sa teacher. Next is letter B, which is the guided instruction by Madeline Hunter model. So, in Orstein and Hanskin 2018. So, when we say guided instruction, the teacher explains and then guides practices with examples. So, number one is review. So here is like the teacher recall and focus in the previous lesson by asking students kanang to summarize the main points or main idea of that lesson. Second is anticipatory set. So here is like i-capture ang kanang attention sa students or ang ilahang interest sa bago or sa new lesson. Third is objective. So here is like state clearly what students will learn and explain why is it useful or nganong importante man nga katunan na nila. Next is input. So here is like the teacher will present the needed knowledge and skill in small sequence steps for students to be able to learn easily. Number five is modeling. So when we say modeling, the teacher will provide like several examples or kanang i-demonstrate the teacher will demonstrate and provide examples throughout the lessons so that the student will be easily understand or for clarity of students. Number six is check for understanding. So here is like the teacher will monitor kanang students' works to ensure nga kanang nasabtan nila ang kanang mga direction or ang task before mo proceed or before moving on onto the next lesson or next topic. Next is guided practice. So here is like the teacher will ask like questions, check answers, and continue monitoring to support learning to support learning. The last one is independent practice. So, when we say independent practice, the teacher will assign like mga independent tasks such as kanang mga task or activities nga kanang the student is like mag-work on their own to show nga kanang naa sila'y kanang nasabtan or naa sila'y na gain nga knowledge sa kana na lesson. Letter C is Mastery Learning by J.H. Black and Lorraine Anderson Model in Orstein and Hanskin 2018. So, when we say mastery learning, the students practice until they master the skill. So, first is clarify. So, here is like the teacher will explain clearly to students unsa ang ilang gi-expect nga makatunan sa mga students. Second is inform. So, here is like the teacher will teach the lesson using kanang whole group instruction. Third is pretest. So, diri pod is like the teacher will give a formative quiz on a no-fault basis. Like, it allowing students to kanang check on their own. So, ang mag-check la sa ilahang mga papel is like sila ra po dili na like mag-exchange sa ilahang classmates or sa ilahang seatmates. Next is group. Like, it divided the class into kanang mastery and non-mastery group based on result like kanang 80% is kanang gi-considered baron nga kanang mastery. So kanang i-divide na ang students like diri ang mastery o diri pud ang non-mastery groups. Next is enrich and correct. So here put is like the teacher will provide ka ng mga enrichment activities to the mastery group, ka ng mga correct and ka ng mga corrective practice or ka ng drills sa non-mastery group. Number 6 is monitor. So here is like the teacher will track students' progress o gi-adjust ang amount sa kanang support depending on a group size o depend pod sa kanang performance sa mga students. Number 7 is post-test. So here is like the teacher will administer a kanang summary quiz or summary test for the non-mastery group. Number 8 is assess performance. So here is like the teacher will kanang aim at least 75% of students to achieve mastery in the summative test. The last one is reteach. So if if ang mastery is kanang dili ma-meet ang kanang 75%, so i-repeat ang process starting with the corrective instruction like kanang small groups na baron or like mag-tutoring, like alternative materials, or like extra homework. Letter D is systematic instruction by Thomas Good and Joe Brophy in Orstein and Hanskin 2018. So, systematic instruction means lessons are reviewed, developed, practiced, and tested. So, these are the steps. First is review. So, here is like i-recall ang kanang mga previous concepts and skills or often kay kanang mga homework discussions and review exercises. Second is development. So, diri pod is like the teacher will explain new lesson clearly and provide controlled kanang mga practice for better understanding sa kanang mga students. Third is assess comprehension. So here po is like the teacher will ask questions and give guided practice activities to check students' learning. The fourth one is seat work. So diri po is like the teacher will let students work independently, like i-involve niya ang tanan and keep the momentum of learning. Next is accountability. So here is like the teacher check and monitor students' work to ensure ka ng accuracy o also to ensure nga na-adjust progress ang learning sa mga students. Next is homework. So here is like the teachers will assign homework regularly to reinforce lessons of to provide extra practices and also para kanang ma-ensure pud sa kanang mga teacher nga like dili dali makalimtan sa kanang mga students ang lessons or kanang mga previous lessons. The last one is special reviews. So here is like the teacher will conduct weekly reviews to strengthen and maintain learning over time. So kanang magkandak o kanang mga review ba ron like always magkandak og review ang mga teacher to ensure nga kanang dili dali malimtan sa kanang mga students ang kanang mga gipang tudlo nila. Next is teaching learning environment. So when we say teaching learning environment, this is the environment or learning spaces in designing a curriculum. So these are the criteria included in teaching learning environment. First is the adequacy, second suitability, third efficiency, and the fourth one is economy. So let's discuss them one by one and know the differences. First is adequacy. So when we see adequacy, it refers to the actual learning space or classroom. So if like the classroom large enough for students or kanang there are enough light or ventilation so that the learning space is conductive or safe for learning. So when we see adequacy, it is all about kanang enough space, light or air for learning so that the students will get comfortable or will be comfortable in learning. Second is the suitability. So, when we say suitability, it fits for the age and background of the student. So, like, dapat if kung unsa ang kanang age sa students, so dapat ang kanang mga activities kay kanang ma-relate pod sa ilahang age or ma-fit pod sa mga learners. The third one is the efficiency. So it refers to the operational and instructional effectiveness. So when we say efficiency, it is the effective for teaching and learning activities. So unsa man ang mga effective nga kanang mga teaching methods or unsa man ang effective learning activities sa kana nga level sa students. The fourth one is the economy. So, here is like kanang unsa man ang mga dapat nga gamiton nga mga resources or unsa man ang mga resources nga kinahanglanon when teaching these learners or unsaon paggamit sa mga materials wisely. So, a good classroom environment, always remember nga a good classroom environment makes students feel safe, comfortable, and ready to learn. The fourth one is the assessment or evaluation. So, learning occurs most effectively when students receive feedback, when they receive information on what they have already or have not learned. So, the assessment or evaluation has three main forms. So, first is the self-assessment, second is the peer assessment, and the last one is the teacher assessment. So, let's know the differences of these three. So, first is the self-assessment. So, self-assessment is when students monitor and evaluate their own learning. So, when we say self-assessment, it lets students reflect on their own. The second one is the peer assessment. So, peer assessment is when students give feedback on each other's work. So, when we say peer assessment, from the word peer, it lets classmates give feedback to each other. And the last one is the teacher assessment. So, the teacher assessment includes kanang mga tests, assignments, or kanang mga activities nga gipanghatag or given by the teachers. There are also two types of assessment, which is the formative and summative assessment. So, Always remember when we say formative assessment, it gives feedback during the lesson to help students improve. While when we say summative assessment, it gives a final grade at the end of a lesson or at the end of the unit. So, always remembering assessment is important because it shows both the strengths and weaknesses of the student. Application of the fundamental components to other curriculum design. So, the same components of curriculum design like objectives, content, methods, and assessment are used not only in lesson plans but also in kanang mga course outlines, syllabus, and other curriculum projects. So, institution like kanang DepEd, CHED, or PRC may also require extra elements, but the main purpose is always to guide teaching and improve students' learning. So, kita as future teachers, we must understand curriculum design because it is one of our important rules. So, through curriculum design, we can give our students meaningful learning experiences that will prepare them for the future or for life. So, that's the end of the lesson 1, everyone. Thank you for listening.
So, good day, everyone. I'm Anjanette Kilpero. So, before we start our discussion for today, let's have our motivation first. So, you just have to raise your hand if you think that you are like this one, okay? Okay, raise your hand if you love learning by exploring, playing, and discovering things on your own. Okay, great job. Next is raise your hand if you like memorizing facts, drills, and being top in exams. Okay, very good. Last is raise your hand if you like solving real life problems like poverty, disasters, or climate change. Okay, great job. As we can see, each of us learns differently, and that's the reason why curriculum has different approaches, which we'll now discuss. Our lesson is approaches to curriculum design. Desired learning outcomes. So we should identify some familiar curriculum designs and approaches to the designs. Next is we should analyze the approaches in the light of how these are applied in the school setting. So there are types of curriculum. First is subject centered curriculum design. This is one of the oldest and most commonly used curriculum design in schools. It mainly focuses on the content of textbooks. Lessons are organized according to specific subjects like science, math, English, and social studies. In this design, the school day is divided into different subject periods. It's widely practiced in the Philippines, where classes are structured by subjects and semesters or quarters. So there are two well-known supporters of this design, Henry Morrison and William Harris. They strongly believe that education should be focused on mastering subjects. There are also variations. such as the interdisciplinary design, where related subjects are connected, and the broad field design, where multiple design are combined. So, in conclusion of this subject-centered curriculum design is traditional but still effective. It ensures mastery of knowledge and specific areas, although it works best when balanced with approaches that consider students' needs and experiences. So, some approaches to curriculum designing, specifically the subject design, discipline design, and correlation design. Subject designing. Subject design is the oldest and most familiar approach. It is focused on content and textbooks, making it easy to deliver. In the Philippines, this is very common because schools divide learning into subjects like math, English, and science. However, its drawback is that learning it can be too compartmentalized. It focuses too much on content and less on students' interest and experiences. In this design, the teacher becomes the dispenser of knowledge, while learners are the passive receivers. Next is the discipline design. The discipline design is similar to subject design, but instead of just content, it focuses on academic disciplines. For example, history students study like historians, and biology students learn like biologists. It is often used in higher education, such as in college, when students are more matured and ready for specialized fields like psychology, science, and humanities. Next is the correlation design. Correlation design links separate subject areas together to reduce fragmentation. For instance, English literature can be linked with history, or math can be linked with science. Subject remains separate but connected, making learning more meaningful. Next is the broad field or interdisciplinary design. This design is a variation of the subject centered approach. It was created to address the problem of compartmentalization in learning. Instead of keeping subjects separate, it integrates them into one broad area. For example, social studies combines history, geography, economics, sociology, and anthropology. This is sometimes called a holistic curriculum because it focuses on integration and themes. Okay, let's have the learner centered design. Learner centered design, unlike subject centered approaches, learner centered design puts the learner at the center of the educational process. It's especially strong in elementary education, but it is also used in higher levels. The emphasis is on learners' needs, interest, and active role in learning. One type of learner centered approach is the child centered design. This design sees learners not as passive receivers, but as active participants who create meaning through interaction. Teachers and learners collaborate in selecting content and activities, making learning more meaningful. Another type is the experience centered design. Here, the learner's experiences guide the curriculum. It cannot be fully pre planned because students' interests and real experiences are the basis of learning. The school environment is open and flexible, giving learners more freedom in choosing activities with teacher support. Humanism design. The two main contributors are Abraham Maslow, who is known for his theory of self actualization, and Carl Rogers, who emphasized self directed learning. According to Maslow, self actualization is the highest level a person can achieve. A self actualized individual accepts himself and others, is natural and spontaneous, open to experiences, and shows empathy. While this is often achieved later in life, the process must begin in school. Carl Rogers, on the other hand, believed that learning should be self directed. He stressed that self understanding and the right attitude can guide behavior, helping learners grow independently. In a humanistic curriculum, the ultimate goal is the development of the whole person. It does not only focus on academics, but also on emotion and actions. It connects the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. It also helps learners build self confidence and improve their interpersonal skills. Summary. Humanistic design is a learner centered approach. It focuses on self growth, empathy, and personal development to prepare learners for life, not just academics. Now, let's move on to problem centered curriculum design. This approach organizes learning around real life problems and the actual need of learners. Problem centered design focuses on social problems, needs, interests, and abilities of the students. Unlike subject centered design, this model does not stick to one subject, but instead uses issues and concerns from daily life as the basis for learning. In this design, problems serve as the starting point of instruction. Learners analyze their own experiences and relate them to the curriculum. The goal is to connect classroom learning to real life situation, which develops students' critical thinking and problem solving skills. One type of problem centered design is a life situations design. This uses both past and present experiences of learners to analyze real life issues. For example, problems related to society, environment, and daily living become part of the curriculum. Activities are designed to help sustain life, enhance well being, and build social and political awareness. This makes learning practical and meaningful. The core problem design. It centers on general education and the problems are based on the common human activities. In 1959, it was popularized by Fons and Bossing. It presented ways on how to proceed using core design of the curriculum. And these are the steps. So there are 11 steps. The first step is make group consensus on important problems. Second is develop criteria for selection of important problem. Number 3 is state and define the problem. Fourth is decide on areas of study, including class groupings. Number 5 is list the needed information of resources. Number 6 is obtain and organize information. Number 7 is analyze and interpret the information. Number 8 is state the tentative conclusions. Number 9 is present a report to the class individually on by group. Number 10 is evaluate the conclusions. And last is explore other avenues for further problem solving. So as you can see, this is the table 1 overview of the major curriculum design. And the design is the subject centered, and you will know their emphasizes, underlying philosophy, the source or their focus or the spokesperson of this design. Next is the table of the learner centered and the problem centered design, and their emphasizes their philosophy, and you can see that in this picture or in this table. And for you to really understand and easy to understand what are the purpose of this curriculum. In this approach, the learner is the center of the educational process. This means that the curriculum is not just about subjects, but it is also built based on learners' needs, interests, purposes, and abilities. The curriculum is designed to build upon what learners already know, their skills, their past learning, and their potentials. In short, it helps them grow from what they have already learned. There are three principles in a child curriculum. First, respect the child's fundamental rights. Second, activities must focus on the learner's overall development. And third, always consider the uniqueness of every learner, especially in a multicultural classroom. So this is the example illustrated of child-centered approach. It means that the child-centered approach is about putting learners at the heart of education. Subject-centered approach. The subject-centered approach is anchored on the mastery of content. It focuses mainly on academic subjects and knowledge, where learning often means memorization and drill. The teacher main role is to deliver content. So example of subject-centered approach. In school Y, success is measured by academic performance. Learners are trained to excel in all subjects with focus on drills, memorization, and mastery. Intellectual growth is prioritized over emotional and values development. Problem centered approach. The problem centered approach is grounded in solving real life issues. Learners become independent problem solvers, develop civic responsibility, and learn to apply knowledge to actual challenges. So, there are examples of the problem centered approach. Examples of problem centered approach. In, in School Z, education revolves around real life concerns such as poverty, climate change, and drug abuse. Learners use case studies and practical activities, making them to solve these problems and capable members of society. Again, the child centered is focused on learners' needs and independence. The subject centered focus on mastery of content. Problem centered is focused on real life problem solving. So that would be all my discussion for today. Hope you learned a lot and you will apply this in your life. And thank you so much.
Good day, future educators. Before we begin our topic on curriculum mapping and curriculum quality audit, let's play a quick game called The Missing Lesson to see how well you can organize learning like real teachers do. So here is the mechanics. Divide the class into small breakout rooms, 3 to 4 member each. Post in the chat box a set of shuffled lesson or topics that you can paste one for each group. So here's the grade 3 science topics: uses of water, mixtures and solutions, evaporation and condensation, states of matter, and sorting objects. So each group will discuss and arrange the topics in the correct order from basic to advanced. When done, they'll type their final order in the main chat once they return from the breakout room. The fastest group with the correct sequence wins the round. So now we're all done. Very good. So I have here some of my questions. So how did you know which topic should come first? Very good. That is correct. Okay, so the next one is: was it hard to connect the lessons without a guide? Thank you. And the third one: What might happen if we teach lessons in random order? That is also correct. So, that is exactly what curriculum mapping helps us avoid. It ensures lessons are taught in the right sequence and are connected meaningfully. As future BEd teachers, you'll use mapping to organize your teaching and guide pupils. Learning journey will be smoothly delivered. So again, good day everyone. So today we will explore lesson 3, which is the curriculum mapping and curriculum quality audit. So this topic is important for us as future teachers because it helps us understand how lessons, activities, and assessments connect to create a smooth learning experience for our pupils. So for our learning outcomes, by the end of our lesson, you should be able to define what curriculum mapping and curriculum quality audit mean, explain their importance and benefits, and be familiar with examples of curriculum maps that teachers use to plan instruction effectively. So now let us begin with this question. What is curriculum mapping? So curriculum mapping is like a teacher's roadmap. It helps us design, review, and organize what we teach so that lessons are connected and meaningful. So, this idea was introduced by Heidi Hayes Jacobs in 2004. With curriculum mapping, we can clearly see what is being taught, when it is taught, and how it is assessed. So, the main purpose of curriculum mapping is to make sure that our learning outcomes, classroom activities, and assessments are aligned. It helps teachers avoid repetition, manage time better, and continuously improve their teaching methods. Now, what is a curriculum map? So, a curriculum map is like a visual timeline that shows what learners should know and do throughout a specific period. It lists learning outcomes, topics, skills, values, time allocation, and assessments. It helps teachers, schools, or even whole departments stay organized and consistent. So, the functions of curriculum mapping maintains excellence, efficiency, and effectiveness in education. It helps us monitor pacing and ensure students master each lesson before moving forward. It also promotes both horizontal and vertical alignment, meaning lessons connect not just within a grade, but across grade levels. So, what are the benefits of curriculum mapping? So, here are some of the benefits of curriculum mapping. First, it aligns outcomes and assessments, identifies overlaps or missing topics, clarifies what students really learn, and gives us a visual overview of the learning flow. Um, it also supports teachers' professional growth by improving lesson planning. So now, what is Curriculum Quality Audit or CQA? So Curriculum Quality Audit or CQA is a process that evaluates how well our curriculum meets established standards. It focuses on maintaining quality, alignment, and accountability, making sure our teaching truly meets educational goals. So, when conducting a curriculum quality audit, we ask important questions like: Is the curriculum aligned with standards? Does it meet quality benchmarks? In Are students achieving success fairly and effectively? So, this helps us assess if our curriculum is truly effective. In the Philippines, the curriculum quality audit is guided by the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers, or PPST. This is implemented under DepEd Order Number 42, Series of 2017, which ensures teachers maintain quality performance at every stage of their careers. SHED also supports curriculum quality through Memorandum Order 74 to 83, Series of 2017. These cover teacher education programs like Bachelor of Elementary Education and Bachelor of Secondary Education, ensuring that what we study matches the competencies expected of professional teachers. Internationally, there are frameworks like CMAOS, CFTC, and Tuning Asia Southeast TASE, which help align teacher competencies across Southeast Asia. These frameworks prepare us to be globally competitive educators. In basic education, curriculum mapping is done by creating a matrix or spreadsheet. So teachers list their learning outcomes, content, skills, resources, and assessments. Then review and revise the map based on feedback. So this ensures the curriculum stays updated and effective. In college or higher education, curriculum mapping involves identifying degree outcomes and aligning them with subject across all years. The intersection shows where each competency is taught or applied, ensuring the entire program builds skills progressively. So here's an example of a curriculum map for grade 3 science. Notice how each part, content, performance standards, learning competencies, and materials is clearly listed. This helps teachers organize their lessons and assess if learning goals are achieved. To summarize, curriculum mapping helps us ensure lessons are connected and clear, while the curriculum quality audit checks if our curriculum meets standards. So together, they guide us in delivering quality education and improving both teaching and learning outcomes. So that would be all. Thank you.